I've often wondered why there are so few day ones, or people who were around with you when you were really, really young, why there are so few of those relationships in place as we get older.
Welcome to Impact and Fulfillment with Coach Mike D, where you'll gain practical wisdom and dynamic insight from amazing conversations to live your best life.
What's going on, y'all? This is Coach Mike D with another episode of Impact and Fulfillment. Hope y'all are well. Hope you're enjoying yourself. For those that work in, education, your summer has jumped off, right? For everybody else, the saga continues. Anyway. I was thinking through something and I wanted to open it up and share, but I also wanted it to be something that we can all think about and be mindful of. I've always wondered why there are so few day ones in our lives as we get older. I've often wondered why there are so few day ones, or people who were around with you when you were really, really young, why there are so few of those relationships in place as we get older. And and at times, we get very idealistic about relationships. We see the movies where, childhood best friends, they play in the sandbox together. They go to school together. They play on the same teams, and, they have fun and all kind of little coming of age escapades together. They grow up and they get married and their spouses become best friends, and then they raise their families together, and, they have this happy ever after life, right? Like Friends, the day ones. And you see that kind of depicted in movies, these lifelong friends. And granted, some of us are blessed to have day one relationships that last the duration of our lives. But the vast majority of our relationships, our friend groups, change as we change throughout life. And I want to kind of emphasize as we change throughout life. One of the things that I've come to understand is the fact that it's hard for people to accept a new version of you. It's hard for people to accept a new version of you. So if we're really honest about it, who we were, or who we were as teenagers, we probably were a little different in our 20s. And as we got into our 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, different components about us evolve. We grow, we change. Things that we were interested in, we're no longer interested in. Things that we weren't interested in, we all of a sudden have, taken a keen interest in that thing. But throughout life, we evolve and we change. Circumstances change. You go from being a kid to being a young adult to being an adult to being a single adult to being a married adult to being a married adult with kids to being in the squeeze generation where you have children that you're raising, but then, maybe even parents or grandparents that you're now kind of responsible for as it pertains to, your circle, right? And it's interesting because in each phase of life, each phase requires different things from you, but it also requires you at times to evolve and to grow to be able to meet the demands of each phase of life. And again, as we evolve and as we change, everybody around us does not necessarily evolve and change at the same rate. Now, I'm not saying this that, there are some people who are very much fans of, you need to cut people off and snip the cord on folks and move on. And if they don't serve you well, you need to go. I'm not saying that needs to happen, but how things naturally progress, you don't always need to fight it. Because again, you will progress at different stages and different levels as those that are around you, those that are connected to you. And if you are moving in a different direction than somebody who you previously were really tight with, at times you need to allow that relationship to run its course. And this is also indicative of why a lot of day ones, or our day one friends, our friends from the sandbox, are typically not the same friends that we have as we move into, later adulthood, because so many things about our lives change. And at each stage and each phase, you need different things, but they need different things as well. And I think sometimes we become very restrictive when we try so hard to preserve something from the past that we're not allowing ourselves to grow and become the full magnitude of who we're capable of being. Again, this is not like, me telling you that you need to go cut people off and find who you can get rid of and remove your circle and create a new one. I'm not saying that, but allow things to progress in the way that they're supposed to. And a lot of times people throughout different phases of your life don't necessarily mature and grow at the same levels. And therefore, you don't have to force, a separation. It just naturally occurs. And that also kind of explains why, if you knew me from college and you like the Mike from the college era, you might not necessarily be too pleased with the Mike in his mid 40s, because I'm not necessarily into the same stuff. And truthfully, if you knew me from, childhood, you might not necessarily groove with me right now either, because I'm not necessarily into the same things that I was back then. And if you put me in a box from a particular era, you cannot necessarily expect that that's what's going to come out of that box when you're around me nowadays. Because again, I've evolved and I've grown in some capacities. I mean, there's some things in which that third grader inside of me just ain't going nowhere, right? But we have to be accepting of that. Again, we all grow, we all evolve, we all grow in different ways and at different rates. And again, I think I've mentioned this before on a previous episode, but a friend of mine dropped this on my spirit years ago. And they said, friends are in your life for reasons, seasons, and some for a lifetime. And, but the reality is most won't be there necessarily for a lifetime. And so it's a hard one to accept, but it is a reality. And we have to learn to be cool with that. But on the flip side, we do have a few that, we've been tight since, the days in the sandbox, and we're still cool to this day. Now that is interesting. And that's also really amazing, because it really just shows how much you've grown, because you can see your growth in them because you all have grown together. Right. So basically, the whole point of this message is you don't always have to force things to happen in relationships. Sometimes if you just don't block the things from happening, the right thing will ultimately happen. OK. And again, you can force proximity, but you can't force relationship. And that goes for where you are in your current life. All right. So again, just give yourself permission to be okay as things evolve. Hold on to good memories, but don't hold on to that era of life. Allow yourself to grow, allow yourself to develop. It's a natural progression in life. All right. Well, hey, I hope this was beneficial, but more importantly, I hope this gave you something to think about, because I bet there's somebody out there in the world that needed to hear this due to something that they've been struggling with internally. And maybe this gave them permission to just move forward with peace. Peace. Let's prioritize peace. All right. Well, hey, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. Grab a copy of my latest book, The 33 Laws of Impact and Fulfillment, anywhere you get books online. Follow at Coach Mike D on social, YouTube, Instagram. Yo, get at me. Shoot me some messages. Let me know what you think about the podcast. And I look forward to chatting with y'all soon. Y'all be blessed, well, and wise. Peace.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and follow Coach Mike D everywhere on social media. Y'all be blessed, well, and wise.